Sing the paranormal with metal in their veins. No fear in their hearts as they break the chains of the supernatural. They will not rest until they face the demons, put them to the test.
That is right, everybody. You know what time it is. It is Sunday. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Do you know where your cryptids are? If not, you should probably go get them.
Yeah, play a little hide and seek with them.
As always, I am the Doc.
Oh, and I'm just King James.
Well, in March, we survived January. Oh, don't worry about it.
You made it through last week without me, right?
I stumbled through it.
You stumbled through it.
It was not the high ending on the alien abductions that we wanted to go with, but it worked. It was fine. Tammy's online. Number one fan.
Tammy. Yes. Sorry, Tammy.
So tonight's topic.
Previous engagement,
So
the wife wouldn't let me up to play. Tonight we got, what did you say? Ghosts, right?
Tonight we are in March. We are starting Oregon. Cryptids and Ghosts of Oregon. Tonight is
Perfect.
on the Lighthouses of Oregon.
Oh, and I know you got a couple good ones.
Yeah, I've got two good ones.
Hey, my good friend Doc, do you mind turning that down just a tad so I could hear you better?
Yeah.
Sorry,
the entrance is done and over with, so yeah, I was just fighting the sound bar and the dog at the same time. It's hard to move the little slider over, and the dog's like bumping your arm, going,
and the dog
"I want
wins.
attention. I gotta move this down." Yeah,
Dog wins.
she's sitting in a corner, all pissed off right now.
Yeah, well, she can sit for an hour being pissed.
So we have the Oregon Ghost Conference at the end of the month, which is why we are doing Oregon this month.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, we are actually probably going to be coming to you live Saturday and Sunday. A special two-parter. If things work out on that Saturday, we'll be doing a two-parter. But we will be coming on about noon and running till about 2 on that Sunday, the 23rd of March. So it will not be live at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It'll be at noon Pacific Standard Time.
All right.
Pacific Standard Time.
Tammy, you can come down to the Ghost Conference and see us down there, right? We gotta have the number one fan down there. Have her in the audience with us. Oh, that's right. I think you said you work the weekends, don't you? What a shame. Yep. Get it off. All right, let's kick this thing into gear, my friend.
Yep. Yeah, we're having
technical difficulties
yet again, but we will struggle through it. There's always a technical difficulty somewhere, somehow, some way.
Someone doesn't
we will
want
try
us
to
to play
just
tonight.
stumble through this. I think it was all the UFO talk last month that people were upset with us.
I think you might be right.
So
And then-
first off, for our haunted lighthouses, we'll be talking about Heceta Head.
Heceta. It's a nice walk to get
way
up there.
down and oh yeah, it is. It is a wonderful, exciting, and interesting location.
Just north of Florence, I believe.
Yes, just north of Florence.
Yeah. This last summer, Heidi and I took the dogs for a road trip along the coast, and we'd swung by there to check it out. And at that time, I didn't know it was a haunted location, which shame on me. I should have known.
Well, that's the thing. Is not a lot of people are aware of what's haunted, what's not haunted. And,
Oh, come on. Most lighthouses along the damn coast are haunted.
Yeah, they are. Now I'm getting a lot of information from a book that I picked up in 1983. I picked it up brand new in Friday Harbor, Orcas Island, Washington. And this is where I got a lot of the Oregon stuff, haunted lighthouses, cryptids, monsters, and everything.
Ha ha ha.
So Heceta Head, we actually had gone down to. It is now a bed and breakfast. You can actually stay here. Here's a more
Yes.
historical photo of it. It is the keeper's house.
Yeah.
I think
don't
trying to rent it out as a bed and breakfast would be kind of cool.
Right. I was gonna say I don't think both buildings are there now. It's just the one with the lighthouse.
No, it's just the one now. Yeah. All right, let's get into Heceta Head.
Heceta.
So here is the backstory to it. This is out of the Columbian newspaper from November 2nd, 2017 by Sherry Burry McDonald.
Oh.
Because this is going to be more of a shorter article than the book, which is like 19 pages. If we run out of material here, we might go to the book. All right, so an apparition of a gray-haired woman wearing a late Victorian era dress. A wispy gray figure floating down the hallway. Sounds of sweeping and furniture being moved at night coming from the locked, empty attic. These are the stories that give the former keeper's house near Heceta Head Lighthouse, north of Florence, its reputation as one of the most haunted places on the West Coast. The pleasing Queen Anne Sow House with a red roof has overlooked the craggy rocks and pounding waves of the Pacific Ocean for more than a century. From 1894, when the lighthouse first cast its beacon out to sea, to the early 1960s, it housed the men who kept the lighthouse running and their families safe. It served as military barracks in World War II and as a satellite campus for Lane Community College in Eugene from 1970 to 1995. For the past 21 years, it has operated as a bed and breakfast with room for 15 guests, 16 if you count the resident guests known as Rue. She has been called out for decades, ever since a group of LCC students huddled around a Ouija board asking questions, and the board spelled out Rue, R-U-E. Manager Missy Anderson said at the house a few days before Halloween. Quote, she doesn't ever do anything scary or harmful or threatening, Anderson said. It's more like she's watching over the place, watching the house and looking out for her daughter. There are many versions of the story, Anderson said, settling into a parlor chair. Do we even know the truth, she asked. It's just our version. The theory is that Rue was a lightkeeper's wife, even although records can't confirm that because they don't list keepers' wives or children, Anderson said. Rue had 2 daughters, one of them drowned, she said. We don't know if she drowned in the ocean or in the cistern, Anderson said. There is an unmarked grave up on the hillside. It's all overgrown and has been left undisturbed, unquote. As the story goes, Rue left Heceta Head after she died. She returned to the keeper's house looking for her daughter, Anderson said. The inn doesn't play up its resident ghosts. It doesn't have to. Some guests are drawn to Rue, requesting Victoria's room, where the lightkeepers are said to have slept, or the Cape Cove room, where a closet contains the steep stairs leading to the locked attic. Other guests prefer not to know. It can be an asset to a business or a hindrance depending on how people feel about it, but we're doing fine, Anderson said. The year-round inn typically is at full occupancy from late March through September and is a popular venue for weddings and other events, she said. The keeper's house and grounds are owned by the U.S. Forest Service, which in 1995 chose Mike and Carol Corrigan, executive chefs from Portland, to operate a bed and breakfast in the house. Today, their daughter, Michelle Corrigan, chef at Owner Restaurant and Lounge in Yachats, runs the inn, which is known for its elaborate 7-course breakfasts. So we're going to get fat if we ever rent this place.
Well, we need to go check it out. Get on down there.
Hey, if it's haunted. Probably the most startling encounter with Rue was reported by the Sislu News in 1975. Workman Jim Anderson was cleaning a window in the house's attic and noticed an odd reflection in the glass. He swung around and saw an apparition of an elderly woman wearing a late Victorian-style gown, according to the report. Anderson fled the house and didn't return for several days. When he returned to work on the house's exterior, he refused to go up in the attic. He accidentally broke an attic window. He repaired it from the outside and left the broken glass on the attic floor. That night, house caretakers were awakened by scraping sounds in the attic. They said it sounded like someone sweeping broken glass, although they hadn't learned about the broken window. The next morning, they found the glass swept into a neat pile, according to the report. Anderson said one guest recalled that she and her husband were relaxing in the parlor one afternoon when she saw a gray figure float across the hallway near the base of the stairs to the second-floor bedrooms. Guest Carol Henderson, who stayed overnight in the Cape Cove room 5 years ago, wrote of her encounter with Rue in the inn's notebook of ghost stories. She said she awakened at 4:30 a.m. and felt a presence climb into the bed beside her for a couple hours. Need I say I feel strange about this experience, but in a way honored, she wrote, concerned but not harmed. Unlike our upcoming investigation in 2 weeks.
Oh.
We'll have to talk more about that one after said investigation.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have to definitely put that one on here.
There might have to be a show. Many guests have noticed items in the rooms being moved or rearranged when no one has been in the room, Anderson said. In some cases, items go missing only to be returned later, she said. Things don't go missing for long, Anderson said. If anything had been moved in the room, it usually stays in the room. I can't think of anything that's been completely gone, just moved. It's not scary or negative. We just accept Rue as part of the house. However, there's always a however. Anderson, a self-described scaredy cat, said enough has happened over the years that she doesn't like to spend the night at the inn anymore. Beth Moscino, who does housekeeping, serving, and other jobs at the bed and breakfast, said she often feels her presence when she goes about her work. Quote, usually after I get the bed made, there will be a depression, as if someone had sat there, she said. She recently changed linens in the Mariner 2 rooms with a stunning ocean view. Moscino said she probably would scream if she actually saw Rue, but she never has, so she isn't bothered. My job is to take care of the place and make it look nice, and I think she likes that, she said. So all the times that I have been down there to see and witness lovely Heceta Head, it's been many, many, many years since I've actually been able to get down there. And if anybody's curious, I mean, since our busiest months are March through September, and we're in March.
Yeah. Take a trip, rent out a room or two. Let us know how it is.
I'll even look up some prices here.
Ooh, good idea.
We're just
No, but
gonna just snowball here, and
I mean, like I said, I was down there during the summer with the dogs and the wife, and it's a beautiful location. And if I didn't have the dogs, I would have definitely gone in to check things out, especially uh, the bed and breakfast, and then down over, take that little long walk down to the lighthouse there, and gone up in that. But what can you do when you get the little pups with you?
yeah. So we're gonna do a basic April. So I'm looking at April 25th, just a random date picked out randomly for two people, two adults. The Mariners Room 2, offering the best views of the Oregon coast. Standard rate $536.32 a night
Oh, a night?
for the room.
Yeah, okay,
The
that's a little too
Lightkeepers
rich for my blood.
Yeah, a night. The Lightkeepers Room, one of the haunted locations, with a view of the lighthouse. Standard rate $439.31 a night.
Dang, that is like outrageous. That's right up there with what the Stanley charges. And
Victoria's
Stanley,
room, the one that's haunted. Yeah, the Stanley's expensive. Victoria's room, the one that's got the ghosts, $439.31 a night.
but still, I mean, it's right up there with the Stanley.
Yeah, the Queen.
I mean,
Yes,
where
but
would
you're
I want to
getting
go
beautiful
to spend the
coastal
night
views.
at a haunted location? Heceta Head. Hey, for those prices, I'd take the Stanleys. No, I'm sorry. Damn. Oh,
The Queen Anne room, though, is only $341.19 a night. The Cape Cove room, also another haunted location, $328.93.
is it the backside of the bed and breakfast?
Oh, and it's the backside of the bed and breakfast. The Mariners Room 1, $536.32, and there's currently a wait list to get that room.
What? A wait list? Oh.
Yes. But if you wanted to get the whole house for a night, so if we got people together, we can rent the whole place for a night. Now, mind you, if we could do it, we would have to pay $2,621.37 after we got on the wait list.
Wait, there's a wait list for the whole house?
To rent for the whole house.
Oh, Jesus.
So, I mean, okay, let's put it in perspective. If we wanted to rent out the insane asylum up in Colfax, that's what was it? $1,700 altogether for 5 floors of haunted lunatic asylum.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a little bit less than renting a haunted lighthouse for $2,621.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
No.
Now
Yeah,
I know
no.
there's a haunted lighthouse up in Washington where you can rent the whole place for $1,500. We'll talk more about that one when we actually get to the Washington.
Okay.
But yeah, Heceta Head is expensive AF.
Again, my choice. I'm sure. I mean, you got the coast right there. It's overlooking the ocean, perfect views and stuff and such. But yeah, between that and the Stanley Hotel, I'll take that price at the Stanley any day over this place. Even though this is only probably an hour and a half for me, give or take. I have. I'd rather spend the time driving to Stanley. Oh, jeez.
So I mean, it would all. I would say bucket list if we happen to have just got enough people together and made it work. I wouldn't mind renting it out for a night just because it's historic.
Yeah,
It's
as long as you get
You got-
the people to do it, I could see that. Yeah.
I mean, now mind you, you're not staying in these lighthouses, the actual lighthouse. You're up the hillside
just-
a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, at
Sammy
least we
says,
got one
"Count me
volunteer.
in."
One volunteer right there. We still need quite a few more to cut that price down for a person.
Well, it's 6 bedrooms. You can fit 2 in a bedroom. Yeah, I mean, people can bring air mattresses. We just stuffed that place.
Hell, I wouldn't be sleeping. I'd be all over that place checking it out.
Well, rent the place out for a night, do ghost hunting all night long. Everybody
Yeah.
leaves, and we go into Florence to like a Motel 6 for the night. It does say that you can take a late night stroll to the lighthouse, but then we would probably, Tammy, this is our luck. We would probably fall over the cliff. Let me bring that picture back up. Yes, they do have a guardrail around everything, but it's our dumbass luck, and we would probably fall in and we might die.
Then we'd be there haunting the damn place. I'd be saying the prices
Yeah.
what killed me.
I know Jade did say still cheaper than the Disneyland Hotel, which does not. It's if we're talking about the Starliner, I believe they shut that one down. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got the story of Rue may push us, says Tammy.
I'll just put my arms
Well-
out and say, please.
So before we move on to Yaquina Bay, what are your thoughts on Heceta Head and the story of Rue?
Almost like any other story that there is with lighthouses and all the tales that have been told about them. I honestly think, yeah, I mean, there could definitely be something there. I'll give it that. I mean, it's fascination. It's right there next to water, and a lot of the heartbreaks are, most. Well, I think it 50-50 on who the lightkeeper is, male, female. I think back in the day, though, more were male than females, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they had their families along with them.
right. I'm not gonna discount. Yeah, I'm just gonna say straight up, I believe that there could be something there. Again, it'd be interesting to get in there and find out for. It's just a fascination with the lighthouses, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be very cool. I've always gone there. I've always looked for Rue. I mean, growing up, we never went to Disneyland. We were always going to historical places. So, I mean, we after the book Oregon's Ghosts and Monsters came out, my brother and I, we wore the cover off, man. I mean, with the original copy I still have in one of my moving crates, and it's duct taped together because we read that book like every single day. The covers come off so many times on that original. Amazon does have them. It's called Oregon's Ghosts and Monsters by Mike Helm. It was published in 1983, and I think you can still find it on Amazon if you want to get that book and read. It's really kind of cool. A lot of stuff more in depth and detail, but since we're doing 2 lighthouses tonight, I'm not going to read the entire chapter on Heceta Head or Yaquina Bay. They are quite immense, but it's interesting. So we'll go ahead and move along since we've done 30 minutes, give or take, on Heceta Head. So one place at Yaquina Bay. This is another place that I got to go into. I was down in Newport about 4 years ago, and I had wanted to go. I made a point to go to this lighthouse. I was like, okay, we're in Newport. I want to go to this lighthouse. They were restoring it, so we were unable to get inside. It was all boarded up. You couldn't even walk up to it.
Oh, wow.
Now this lighthouse, when it was open, we actually, us kids went upstairs, and I'll read the story, but we were able to find the area, and it would be kind of cool. And once I'm going to read the abridged version. If it's true, it's a great story. All right, so then this is coming out of Stories, Legends, and Lies of Oregon website. This was updated recently. Situated at Yaquina on the coast of Oregon is an old deserted lighthouse that stands upon a promontory that juts out, dividing the bay from the ocean, and is exposed to every wind that blows. Its weather-beaten walls are wrapped in mystery of an afternoon when the fog comes drifting in from the sea and completely envelopes the lighthouse and then stops in its course as if its object has been obtained. It is the loneliest place in the world. At such times, those who chance to be in the vicinity hear a moaning sound like the cry of one in pain, and sometimes a frenzied call for help pierces the death-like stillness of the waning day. Far out at sea, ships passing in the night are often guided in their course by a light that gleams from the lantern tower where no lamp has ever trimmed. Now, this is actually a little bit earlier. They're kind of going over a lot of their stuff here. Some people call it a work of fiction. It's a story written in 1899 by Lishan Miller, the sister-in-law of famous Oregon writer Hoshin Miller, and published in a West Coast literary magazine called Pacific Monthly. Published, I should say, as a work of fiction. Miller never represented her story as anything else. All right, in the days when Newport was but a handful of cabins, roughly built and flanked by an Indian camp, across the bar there sailed a sloop, grotesquely rigged and without a name. The arrival of the vessel was a rare event, and by the time the stranger had dropped anchor abreast the village, the whole population were gathered on the strip of sandy beach to welcome her. She was manned by a swarthy crew, and her skipper was a beetle-browed ruffian with a scar across the cheek from mouth to ear. A boat was lowered, and in it a man about 40 years of age, accompanied by a young girl, were rowed ashore. The man was tall and dark, and his manner and speech indicated gentle breeding. This is apparently how they wrote in the 1800s.
Okay.
So we're going to go with it.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, why not? He explained that the sloop's water casks were empty and was directed to the spring that poured down the face of the yellow sandstone cliff a few yards up the beach. Issuing instructions in some heathenish, unfamiliar tongue to the boatman, he devoted himself to asking and answering questions. The sloop was bound down the coast of Coos Bay. She had encountered rough weather off the Columbia River bar and had been driven far out of her course. To the young lady, his daughter, the voyage proved most trying. She was not a good sailor. If, therefore, accommodations could be secured, he wished to leave her ashore until the return of the sloop a fortnight later. The landlady of the doesn't say camp or room or anything, had a room to spare. And by the time the water casks were filled, arrangements had been completed, which resulted in the transfer of the fair traveler's luggage from the sloop to the hotel. The father bade his daughter an affectionate adieu and was rowed back to the vessel, which at once weighed anchor and sailed away in the golden dusk of the summer evening. Muriel, that was the name she gave, Muriel Trevengard, was a delicate-looking, fair-haired girl still in her teens, very sweet and sunny-tempered. She seemed to take kindly to her new environment, accepting its rude inconveniences as a matter of course. Through all of her own belongings testified to the fact that she was accustomed to the refinements and even luxuries of civilization. She spent many hours each day idling with a sketchbook and pencil in that grassy hollow in the hills, seaward from the town, or strolled upon the beach or over the windswept uplands. The fortnight lengthened to a month, and yet no sign of the sloop or any sail rose above the horizon to southward. "You have no cause to worry," said the landlady. "Your father is safe enough. No rough weather since he sailed. And as for time, a ship's time is as uncertain as a woman's temper, I've heard my own father say." "Oh, no. Oh, I am not anxious," replied Muriel. "Not in the least." It was in August that a party of pleasure seekers came over the coast range and pitched their tents in the grassy hollow. They were a merry company, and they were not long in discovering Muriel. "Such a pretty girl," exclaimed Cora May, who was herself so fair that she could afford to be generous. "I am sure she does not belong to anybody about here. We must coax her to come to our camp." This was written in the 1800s, people. This is sounding real sketchy.
Right.
Everything sounds sketchy. But the girl needed a little coaxing. She found these light-hearted young people a pleasant interruption, and she was enthusiastically welcomed by all, young and old alike. She joined them in their ceaseless excursions and made one of the group that gathered nightly around the campfire. There was one, a rather serious-minded youth, who speedily constituted himself her cavalier. He was always at hand to help her into the boat, to bait her hook when they went fishing, and to carry her shawl or book or sketch block, and she accepted these attentions as she seemed to accept all else, naturally and sweetly. The Cape Foul-Weather Light had just been completed, and the house upon the bluff above Newport was deserted. Some member of the camping party proposed one Sunday afternoon that they pay it a visit. "Of course we did. Hey, look at that house. It's abandoned. Let's go check it out." Can we build a time machine and go back and start warning people?
Not to go into abandoned buildings?
This is a horror movie trope, people. We don't do this.
Nah.
We have seen everything else there is to see, remarked Cora May. "It is just an ordinary house with a lantern on top," objected Muriel. "You can get a good view of it from the bay. Besides, it is probably locked up." "Somebody has the key, and we can soon find out who," said Harold Welch, "and we haven't anything else to do." Accordingly, they set out in a body to find the key. It was in possession of the landlady's husband, who had been appointed to look after the premises. He said he had not been up there lately and seemed surprised after a mild fashion that anyone should feel interest in an empty house. But he directed them how to reach it. Hey, listen, we're taking care of your daughter and we're going to send her up to the scary haunted place that nobody goes to. Here's the key. Go ahead, check it out.
Not responsible for what happens.
We all know it just gets worse from here. We've all seen horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, you go up that trail to the top of the hill and you'll strike the road, but you won't find anything worth seeing after you get there. It ain't anywhere like the new lights. With much merry talk and laughter, they climbed the hill and found the road, a smooth and narrow avenue, overshadowed by dark young pines winding along the hilltop to the rear of the house. It stood in a small enclosure, bare of vegetation. The sand was piled in little windswept heaps against the board fence. There was a walk paved with brick leading from the gate around to the front, where 2 or 3 steps went up to a square porch with seats on either side. Harold Welch unlocked the door and they went into the empty hall that echoed dismally to the sound of human voices. Let's go visit the abandoned place sitting on a hillside. Even in the late 1800s, people were dumbasses.
Do a little rock, paper, scissors, see who goes in first.
Hey, everybody, let's go in this abandoned place that hasn't been open forever. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that seems to be 9/10 of our podcast topics. Don't do this.
Right? I agree.
All right, so let's see.
In a couple
Harold
weeks,
Welch,
right?
I
Go
don't
ahead.
know what. Let this be a lesson. Our podcast is more than this chaos and education. It's also to educate you on what not to do. All right, where was I? Oh, yeah. Harold Welch unlocked the door and they went into the empty hall that echoed dismally to the sound of human voices. Rooms opened from this hallway on either hand, and in the L at the back were the kitchen, storerooms, and pantry, a door that gave egress to a narrow veranda, and another shutting off the cellar. At the rear of the hall, the stairs led up to the second floor, which was divided like the first into plain square rooms. But the stairway went on, winding up to a small landing where a window looked out to the northward, from which a little room, evidently a linen closet, opened opposite the window. There was nothing extraordinary about this closet at first glance. It was well furnished with shelves and drawers, and its only unoccupied wall space was finished with a simple wainscoting. "Why?" cried one as they crowded the landing and overflowed into the closet. "This house seems to be falling to pieces." He pulled at the section of his waistcoating and it came away in his hand. "Hello, what's this? Iron walls?" "It's hollow," said another, tapping the smooth black surface, disclosed by the removal of the panel. "So it is," cried the first speaker. "I wonder what's behind it. Why, it opens!"
No. Just no.
A smart person. "Hey, this opens up. I should go away." This isn't going to end well.
Don't do it. Just don't.
Things not to do. That should be a podcast all on its own. Hey, everybody, guess what? Things not to do. Don't do these. Let me see. So, yeah, I wonder what's behind it, why it opens. Oh, we're going to die now. It was a heavy piece of sheet iron about 3 feet square. He moved it to one side, set it against the wall, and peered into the aperture. "How mysterious!" exclaimed Muriel, leaning forward to look into the dark closet, whose height and depth exactly corresponded to the dimensions of the panel. How lucky for everybody!
Right?
It went straight back some 6 or 8 feet and then dropped abruptly into what seemed a soundless well. Of course it does! It goes back and then down.
At least it didn't go up.
Well, they're already at the top of the building.
Well, hey, there's no limits to going up. All right.
When it's dealing with the paranormal, you only can go up or down a lot. One, more curious than the rest, crawled in and threw down lighted bits of paper. We're lighting things in an old building.
Let me guess. They caught the building on fire.
No, we're not that lucky. Because that's where the story would end. The building caught on fire and the end. All right, it goes to the bottom of the sea, he declared as he backed out and brushed the dust from his clothes. Who knows what it is or why it was built? Smugglers, suggested somebody, and they all laughed, though there was nothing particularly humorous in the remark. But they were strangely nervous and excited. There was something uncanny in the atmosphere of this deserted dwelling that oppressed them with an unaccountable sense of dread. Yeah, I already had dread looking at the picture.
Yeah, this picture's not too flattering.
No, it's been doing a lot of reconstruction work.
Just a lot.
All right, so before we go on, Tammy says, I have talked to people who work there and said the ghost of Muriel is true. All right, so...
You know, I think our number one fan is sure getting around a lot to all these places.
Guess what, Tammy? You're going to be our on-site reporter from now on.
Right. There you go.
The job
Next
doesn't
week
pay
you're
anything.
going to... Just wait for next week. We'll send you there.
We'll send you to Cannon Beach.
Oh.
All right, so where was I? There was some uncanny atmosphere, unaccountable sense of dread. They hurried out, leaving the dark closet open, because that always works out, and climbed up into the lantern tower where no lamp has been lighted for these many years. So now you've opened up a door into a mysterious drop-off to get up into the light tower, because that's safe. The afternoon, which had been flooded with sunshine, was waning in a mist that swept in from the sea and muffled the world in dull gray. Of course it does. Let us go home, cried Cora May. If it were clear, we might see almost the China from this tower, but the fog makes me lonesome. Of course, it was sunny. You go into the place, it turns gray, turns into Silent Hill, because that just speaks for just peace and joy, and everything's fine. So they clambered down the iron ladder and descended the stairs, passed out through the lower hall into the great fog. Harold Welch stopped to lock the door, and Muriel waited for him at the foot of the steps. The lock was rusty, and he had trouble with the key. But you didn't have trouble with the key going in?
Yeah, just on the way out.
Just on the way out. Just as we're trying to run our way out. By the time he joined her, the rest of the party had disappeared around the house. You were kind to wait for me, said he, as they both caught step on the brick pavement and moved forward. But Muriel laid her hand upon his arm. I must go back, she said. I dropped my handkerchief in the hall upstairs. I must go back and get it.
Oh, yeah. You've been in there once. Let's go a second round.
Yeah, I forgot something.
Don't do it.
Get help. Check your stuff before you leave the scary building. They remounted the steps, and Welch unlocked the door and let her pass in. Because, of course, now I'm going to be a gentleman. I'm going to help you out with everything. But you're going back in the scary building. There you go.
Did she go by herself?
She said. But when he would have followed, she stopped him imperiously. I am going alone, she said. You are not to wait. Lock the door and go on. I will come out through the kitchen. He objected, but she was obstinate, and perhaps because her lightest wish was beginning to be his law of life, he reluctantly obeyed her. Again, the key hung in the lock. This time it took him several minutes to release it. When he reached the rear of the house, Muriel was nowhere to be seen. He called her 2 or 3 times and waited, but receiving no reply, concluded that she had hurried out and joined the rest, whose voices came back to him from the avenue of pines. She had been nervous and irritable all the afternoon, so unlike herself, that he had wondered more than once if she were ill or weary of his close attendance. It occurred to him now that possibly she had taken this means to rid herself of his company. Sorry, dude. You got dropped.
That's a bad day happening.
You tried to be nice and everything, but they just dropped you. I gotta go back inside. I'll go out through the kitchen. Mic drop. He hurried on, for it was growing cold and the fog was thickening to a rain. He had just caught up with the stragglers of the party, and they were beginning to chafe him at being alone, when the somber stillness of the darkening day was rent by a shriek so wild and weird that they had heard it, felt the blood freeze suddenly in their veins. They shrank involuntarily closer and looked at each other with blanched cheeks and startled eyes. But anyone found voice, and it came again. This time it was a cry for help, thrice repeated in quick succession. "Muriel, where is Muriel?" demanded Welch, his heart leaping in sudden fear. "Why, you ought to know," cried Cora May. "We left her with you." They hurried towards the deserted house. "She went back to get her handkerchief," explained Welch. "She told me not to wait, and I locked the door and came on." "Locked her in that horrid place? Why did you do that?" exclaimed Cora indignantly. "She said she would come out the way of the kitchen," replied he. "She could not. The door is locked, and the key is broken off of the locks on another. I noticed it when we were rummaging around in there." They began to call encouragingly, "Muriel, we are coming. Don't be afraid," but they got no reply. "Oh, let us hurry," urged Cora. "Perhaps she has fainted with fright." In a very few minutes they were pouring into the house and looking and calling through the lower rooms, then upstairs, and there upon the floor in the upper chamber, where the gray light came in through the curtainless windows, they found a pool of warm red blood. There were blood drops in the hall and on the stairs that led up to the landing, and in the linen closet they picked up a blood-stained handkerchief. But there was nothing else. The iron door had been replaced and the panel and wainscoting closed, and try as they might, they could not open it. They were confronted by an apparent tragedy, appalled by a fearful mystery, and they could do nothing. Nothing. They returned to the village and gave the alarm, and reinforced came back and renewed the hopeless search with lanterns. They ransacked the house again and again from tower to cellar. They scoured the hills in the vain delusion that she might have escaped from the house and wandered off in the fog, but they found nothing, nor ever did, save the blood drops on the stairs and the little handkerchief. "It would be a dreadful blow to her father," remarked the landlady of insert hotel. "I did not want to be the one to break it to him, and she had her wish, for the sloop nor any of its crew ever again sailed in Yaquina Bay." As time went by, the story was forgotten by all those who joined in that weary search of the missing girl. But to this day it is said the bloodstains are dark upon the floor in the upper chamber, and one there who has carried the little handkerchief next to his heart till the hour of his tragic death. Now I'm going to say that when Yaquina Bay was open to the public, once upon a time you could go all the way upstairs. You couldn't climb the ladder up into the light tower, but you can get up to where that linen closet was, and they even had a plexiglass over it. So there was a little closet upstairs that they actually had open. And if I remember correctly, they had a little sign that talked about Muriel upstairs. Now I did not have a black light to look for blood drops, but there were drops of something that were really in there, really good, up in that said area. So the story is, Muriel still haunts the place.
Yeah.
So is that just simply a story from 1878? Actually, no, 1877. And just another legend that has gone all the way around. We're in the last 10 minutes, so we're going to go Skeptic's Corner. I'll just leave that up. So we'll
Yeah.
talk about the lighthouses.
Yeah, it's almost like this one was more of a story than it feels more story-ish than an actual real life event to me. But that being said, it is a lighthouse, and I have this thing for lighthouses, and you know, who's to say it's not true? I mean, if you've been up there and you've seen that, I've not been in that location yet. I mean, several years back, Heidi and I were gonna go, but they had it closed down for the day by the time we got there, so we never made it in. But it'd be interesting to get up there for myself and see, and then I can give them more of a, my perspective on it.
Well, here's some interesting facts about the Yaquina Head light. Actually, no, that's Yaquina Bay. I don't want Yaquina Head. I want Yaquina Bay. There are 2 lighthouses in Yaquina Bay. It is a state park.
Mm-hmm.
The new lighthouse was built in 1873.
Oh, that's
and
the
this
new
was,
one.
Now this is the old one. It's the last remaining wooden lighthouse. I'm trying to see if they've got a schedule of when it's going to reopen.
Tammy's saying that there's supposed to be a ghost of a worker that died between the walls. You know anything about that?
It was officially restored as a privately maintained aid and navigation on December 7th, 1996. Inside the lighthouse, 2 flights of stairs lead to the washroom. Interesting places to visit within, walking or short. Yeah, it's not saying exactly if it's open or not. I just know back in 86, I think it was, the family went down there.
That's when was the last time they had renovations again?
It's always seems to be doing reservations. So the last major one was 1996.
Okay.
But I know it was shortly after 83 we got the book. And we had talked to my parents and said, we've got to do a ghost field trip. We got to go and do a road trip and see all these places. We got a lot of them done. I know we were here. We went upstairs. It was open to tours. And we had gone upstairs. And it was really kind of cool. And I think it was just like a private owner that had it open for tours. Well, like I said, when we were back there a couple years back, it was all boarded up. You couldn't get into it. They were restoring it again. I mean, it is wood. Most of the other lighthouses that are concrete. So this guy's up on a hillside. So it's taking some beating from the
winds, yeah.
ocean currents. So I can understand why it's always being refurbished, redone. I mean, if you go to like Seaside, Tillamook, any of the houses that are like right on the ocean, that sea
Mm-hmm.
salt just whipping in and it's just stripping it down.
Oh, absolutely.
It would be interesting to get back in there and get back upstairs, take some black lights. I don't know who we would have to contact. Say, hey, we'd like to do a ghost investigation.
Mhm. Yeah, this you'll have to pay $500 a night. Just had to throw it out there.
Hey, if they were smart, they could do like a Heceta Head. Because you've got what, 4 bedrooms downstairs, 4 bedrooms upstairs. Boom, 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 boom. There you go. You can restore everything. And then you got
Right.
that mine shaft, apparently, the smuggler's shaft. I mean, you could charge people another $200-300 to ride a little, like, zip line down to the waterfront.
That would be interesting to see.
New, the lighthouse will be closed January 1st through June 1st, 2025 reservation. After construction, the lighthouse will resume its normal hours, which are noon to 4 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday, and close Mondays and Tuesdays.
Well,
Thank you, Tammy, for that. Road trip
yeah, definitely a road trip.
after June.
Yeah, that works for me.
We can take our gear in, be all stealthy about it.
Oh yeah, take the tour, yeah, and learn a little bit and ask questions in the process, and those guys will go, "What?" I'm not sure what you're referring to, but sure.
Oh,
Yes.
like anything else, if you've got a haunted location with a good story, and face that was a good story. Fiction, reality, we don't know. It's labeled as fiction, but it is a good, detailed story. I think what we can take away from all this is don't go into spooky looking places.
Right?
Don't go
And then
back into spooky looking places
by yourself, at least.
by yourself.
Like I
I would
said,
say
it
if you're
sounded
gonna get
more
into
of a story.
paranormal,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you're gonna get into ghost hunting and paranormal stuff, sit down one night, watch a whole bunch of horror movies, learn all the tropes, learn the rules. Don't do anything they do in a horror movie, and you'll survive.
Yeah, just watch a couple of those Scream movies where they got the list of do's and don'ts. There you go.
Maybe that's what we need to do, James. Maybe we need to work on the list of haunted locations. Do's and don'ts for the haunted locations.
Do go
Don't
in,
go
don't
in by
ask for our
yourself.
help. You're saying don't go in, I'm saying go in, don't ask for help.
Go in with a lot of people. Don't go in by yourself. If the
Absolutely.
lock on the door is rusty and you can't get it to work, don't go in.
Yeah. The being on a more serious note, yeah, just don't.
Yeah, don't trespass people.
Yeah.
You might end up
Always-
like Muriel.
Or Rue.
Or Rue.
Or
Of course,
anybody.
Rue seemed to go back to the place to look for her daughter. So I mean, I didn't really like die there. She died elsewhere, and
Right. But her daughter died there, right? And that must have
yeah,
been the
her daughter died
unmarked.
there.
Was that the unmarked grave or whatever that was up on the hill there?
Yeah, that was the unmarked.
So Rue could be actually haunting not just the bed and breakfast. She could be haunting the little area up on the hill.
Yeah. Don't have to pay that $500.
Right? Just like
Or like the place in Washington, the haunted lighthouse that Ghost Adventures actually had investigated. Bill and I had been there the next day after Ghost Adventures had left. We sat outside. They were when they were here on the Astoria filming.
Is this the one that you were telling me about? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, we were outside doing a spirit box session and getting responses. The park had said we could go in and look around. I'm like, we'll just sit outside. We're not gonna bug you guys. You got a job to do. So, but next weekend,
Tammy says don't do
continue
something DBK wouldn't do.
Well, Tammy, we do have a case on the 15th with
yeah.
We need to find a better name for the place. We've got the Tiger Demon House, and now we've got this new house.
Mask House. The Mask House.
The Mask House.
That's it. The Mask House.
We might have to do a full YouTube video for that one and post it up.
Oh, man. That's going to be a long night.
Yeah, it is. But for now...
Next week we have what?
Next week we have a few cryptids of Oregon.
Oh, I heard you mention Cannon Beach.
We're going to be tackling Bandage Man.
Yep, I was just going to say, you're talking Bandage Man.
I know we did Bandage Man earlier in season 1. We're going to revisit it. We're going to go a little bit more in depth. We're not going to shoot it down. We visited Cannon Beach when we were just doing the YouTube shows. And we looked at it, but we kind of shot it down with the information we had without realizing the town had changed a lot since the 70s. So we're going to be doing Bandage Man.
I spoke to a coworker, and he didn't know anything about the Bandage Man. He never even heard of it.
Not a lot of people do.
I was like, dude, you've got to check it out. Yeah,
which means if we ever do the road trip, we got to stop in Cannon Beach.
Oh yeah,
on old Highway 101 and go looking.
Yes. Do we know right about where?
We know exactly where.
Oh, yes.
I know exactly where.
Yes, road trip.
And then our second cryptid of Oregon will be the Devil's Lake Monster in Lincoln City. Lincoln City. There is a little lake right there next to the casino called Devil's Lake. My cousin is part of the tribe down there, and he says that there is a history to the Devil's Lake that deals with the tribe.
I'll save my reservations for next week on that one. I'm
Tall
definitely
tale,
look into that one.
Local legend, or reality. Until that point, we are... I would say we're going home, but we're already home, and sorry you guys, but we're going to get out of here. It is actually 9:04 Pacific Standard Time. Hug your cryptids. Keep them warm. Keep them dry.
Keep them on a leash.
We will see everybody. Keep them on a leash, especially Sheep Squatch.
No, I keep them on the wall.
And we will see everybody. We will see everybody next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.